Real Show from Oak Point. And now, the starting lineup for the Keeping It Real Show from Oak Point, Texas. It's the Tokyo Tex, the Kamikaze Cowboy, the Sukiyaki Jockey, the MOT, the Man of Trail, Tim Kimura. And from the home of the San Antonio Spurs, the captain of the team, the man with the dream, the man behind the wheel for Keeping It Real, Brett Jewett.
Hello, everybody. Let us know where you're tuning in from tonight. I'm Brad Jewett.
I'm Tim, the Trailman.
Keeping it real.
And now, Brad and Tim.
And now, the starting lineups for the Keeping It Real show from Oak Point, Texas. The Kamikaze Cowboy, the Tokyo Tex, the Sukiyaki Jockey, the MOG, the Man of Trail, Tim Kimura. And now, from the home of the San Antonio Spurs, the captain of the team, the man with the dream, the man behind the wheel, and keeping it real, Brad Jewett. I love that, Tim. Love that intro. Gets me pumped.
1, 2, go.
On a Friday night, it gets me pumped up.
Wow.
We've had a great day today, everybody. We are like in the pleasure mood. We have got, of course, Brett Parrish and Cody Parrish going to be joining us very soon. But before we do, we just want to do a little housekeeping, talk about what we have coming up next week. On Monday, we have Cleve Wells, Steve Heckerman joining us for our sandwich weekend with the Western Pleasure. And then on Wednesday, we have Jim and Deanna Searles coming in to join us, talk about a little Western riding. And on Friday, we have Lainey DeBoer and Valerie Kearns coming in for some equitation information. What do you got for me, Jim?
Did you watch the virtual Kentucky Derby the other day?
No, I didn't. No, I did not.
Do you know who won?
Who? I don't even know who was in it. Secretariat won? Yeah. If I had known he was in it, I like that. That's a no-brainer. The horse had a heart 15 sizes larger than a normal horse or something like that.
Secretariat citation, Seattle Sloop.
Nice. That's awesome.
F1. I saw that on Charlie.
I wish I'd have known a little bit more about that. I probably would have tuned in. I'm sure I could watch a replay somewhere.
You could bet on it too, I think. So it's pretty interesting. So anyways, let's go.
Ready to bring these guys in?
Yes, sir.
So, without wasting any more time, we want to bring in two of the best in our industry in the Western Pleasure. And, we say that a lot on our show, but that's just a testament to who comes on this show. We've got the best. And we're so thankful for them to give up their Friday night tonight. Cody Parrish, Brett Parrish, Kona, let's bring them in. There they are. How about we got some sound from you guys? Everybody say hello.
Good evening.
I'm Brad, Tim.
Hey, we got Brett too. Very good.
Yeah, good job. Good job, guys.
With this technology, it's always so darn challenging, but looks like we're alive and well tonight. All right, everybody, this is the time of the show that we let Mr. Tim Kimura take the wheel.
And then, I'm sure there's people in the audience that might want to ask some questions, so you'll keep an eye on that for me, right, Bradford?
Absolutely. I got my eyes right here.
Okay, Brett. So I'm going to start with Brett. Can you kind of tell us about your ranch, your family, and how you grew up a little bit? We'll start there.
Yeah, I'm a second-generation horse trainer. My dad, Keith Perrish, he was, I feel like one of the first. He was first-generation horse trainer. Before, there was a lot of horsemen in this world, but once he, at his age, he came in and had several jobs after the Air Force. Went through those jobs, but his heart was always in the horses since he was a kid, and went out on his own and started his own business when I was very young. So I grew up in the industry and felt very fortunate to be able to watch as things progressed. He taught me a lot, and a lot of what to do, what not to do through his experience. And so grew up through that. I started breaking colts when I was 12. He traveled a lot with his horses. Back then, we didn't start colts. in November, December, like we do today, we went to, we'd start about June. We would break those colts and we'd be showing them in September, something like that. So it's a little bit different time, but that's the way I grew up.
Year? Like you start them in June and show them the same year in September?
That's correct.
Wow.
So it was things weren't nearly as technical back then, and just get your leads and don't run off, and you're in good shape. So it was a different time, but I grew up. It was a great time. Learned a lot, and met a lot of great people along the way, and it shaped what our business has turned into today. So very thankful for it.
And then
I didn't know your father. I don't know your father, and so, but a lot of people that we've interviewed has mentioned Kiff, and so it's awesome. You know, we always like to be able to connect all of our guests together in some way, and so Kiff, you're not the first one that's mentioned him on the show as to date. So that's pretty cool to have you here and be able to talk about him because I know he's going to come up tonight as we go on. Yeah.
Then back then, you know, the horsemen they were much more well-rounded. I mean, we're very our disciplines today encourage us to be a lot more tight into what we do. Back then, he started in the halter in the morning and finished. He may have a rope horse that evening and through the pleasure and every other event. So it was there was a lot of learning process, but through all those things, I feel like he was a great horseman in a lot of ways. He was a really good judge and real honest man that taught me a lot.
Awesome.
You just know by everyone saying that how much they respected him so much.
I was growing up, I was very proud to be his son. When he passed away in '99, I came to realize later it wasn't he impacted the horse business because that's what he's part of, but I really felt like he impacted the people, whether it was a personal relationship in what way, and I realized the importance of life. You know, he was that was one of the times that shaped me in a very impactful way. It was the fact that when we talk, someone would come up and talk to me about him. It was a lot of times horse related, but the story was about some impact he made on their life or what kind of friend he was or some kind of lesson he taught them. So I realized then that, you know, what we do today in the horse industry is great, but it's what brings us together. It's not about certain accomplishments. It's about who we are and the relationships we form.
You bet.
I agree.
And not to jump in or cut anybody off there, but it's kind of cool for me because I can sit here and everything he just said, I can say the exact same thing about him. So I'm very, very blessed that I have that in my life as well. So that's cool for me.
So, Brett, I know you're not shy about this, but just share a little bit about your faith and what your dad. I think you told a story a little bit, very short story, but just to how important and what was one of the most impactful things that your dad, you know, you already alluded to a little bit already, but what your dad kind of was most important in the process of you know, because I think you went to school as well after high school, and just kind of tell us a little bit how you got into that. Into the horse training part of it, but tell us a little bit about, you know, coming up with your dad and what he instilled in you that obviously you're passing down to Cody as well.
Well, so much of it was my grandparents helped start the church here in our hometown, and my dad was a big part of it. I was, and right on down through our children. And we're Christians. We've raised our kids that way. I was raised that way, and it really keeps us grounded and proud of that. And I feel like it's as long as we put that God and our family first, the rest will take care of itself. And but it's always been since anything I can remember, it was that way. Same thing with our boys. A lot of people ask us. Candy and I are very proud of our children, and they ask me sometimes, how did you raise such great kids? And I attribute that to God and raising them in church. I was a little hard on them too much. I was a little too hard on them at times, but so there was a lot of spankings. But there was a lot of spankings and raising them in church. And then I also felt like Candy and I told them we loved them every day, and as long as they knew that and knew knew the rights and wrongs of life, they'd find their way. And so far, we're very proud to say they have.
Yeah, my parents were spare the rod, spoil the child kind of parents. Wow.
It wasn't popular around my house when they were young. They have both thanked me since, but it was a subject that they weren't very happy about early on in their life.
You bet.
So I didn't ask this yesterday, but can you tell me how you met your wife?
Yes. We both grew up in the industry. Her mom, and that's one neat thing about Cody. He's third generation horse trainer on both sides of his family.
Awesome.
My dad, the year that I went to college, after I graduated high school, I went to college for 2 years, and I had 2 really nice horses. And that year, I wanted to show them that summer and fall. So I didn't go back to the fall classes that year. We went to the World Show, and Candy and I both grew up in the industry. Her mom's Diane Trine, stepdad's Dan Trine, and I went with my dad to the World Show. We were stalled next to each other, and a lot of people would find this hard to believe. A lot of people would find this hard to believe, but I was pretty shy when I was younger and didn't talk much. We were stalled next to each other, and people. Her mom kept sending her over to the stalls to borrow a shovel or a broom, things like that. We find out later what her motives were, but
they intentionally left back at the house, right?
Yeah. This went on about for 4 or 5 days, and I finally got up the nerve to go over and sit at her stalls, wait for her to come back. We talked about 15 minutes, and she was late for her airplane. She left, and she was nice enough to give me her number, and I pursued her from there. And fortunately, she didn't fight me off too bad. It turned out well.
Awesome.
So if he was 15 minutes later, I wouldn't have been here. So
if they would have just packed that dang broom and shovel, man, you may not have been here, right?
How about your 2 sons? Can you talk about them a little bit and your brother?
I couldn't hear you, Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you tell me when your 2 boys came in, and then your brother too?
Yes. My brother and I grew up in the horse business. Like I said, Brooke is he's 3 years younger than I am. He runs Kendall's Western Hats. One of my best friends also, and he and I grew up doing it. He went a little different direction. He never really got into the pleasure horses. He roped a little bit when he was younger. Got into the hats. Kenny and he bought Kendall's hats when he was 18 years old. Graduated high school, and then he grew it from there. Has done a great job. I'm very proud of what he's done. We had a lot of times growing up, a lot of good times growing up. I was more serious and a little quieter. He had a lot of fun and found his way through life and has 2 great children, and very proud of the man he is today. Cody, he was born in '94. We Kenny and I, for about 6 months after being married in 1990. We worked for my dad, went to work for a family, Chuck and Myers and Roberts, Andrew and Wes Roberts, that lived in Florida. We went down there for about 4 years. While we were down there, we learned a lot, got a lot of great experience, and they were very helpful in our career. In '94, Candy was pregnant with Cody, was born in December of '94. We moved back here and started our own business in '95, and then Chase was born in '97. So they're about 2.5 years apart, and it was nice to come home back. It was nice to be off and learn some things, but it was very nice to come home and be around our family to raise our children. And I'm glad that my dad got to spend a few years there with that.
Where am I at? Is it me? I'm sorry. Can you did I mute myself? Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I have my dogs here, right? And every night my dogs bark. So it's like I mute myself so I don't mess up, and then they don't bark. Okay. So help me a little bit. Tell me about some of the horses that you showed and throughout your career, like in the earlier years, and then tell me where your breaking point, or not breaking point, with what came to your rise. Yeah, breakout point.
Yeah, I was fortunate. At a very young age, I was exposed to so much through my dad growing up. Met a lot of great horse trainers, a lot of great horsemen, and a lot of them helped me through the years. But when we were in Florida, some clients sent Steve and Linda Griffin sent Sweet Talking Chip to us. He was 2 years old. That was in '94. That year, he was a high money earning 2-year-old in the country, and back then that was a pretty big deal. He was our first really nice horse. I had a few horses I bought, or especially one we bought from Cleve Wells, and it really taught me what a broke horse is supposed to be. And I followed over and used that training with Sweet Talking Chip in '94, and then we moved back home in '95. Continued to show him and do well with him and breed him. We ended up buying him, and Candy and I had a great career with that. In '97, showed a horse named Chipped in Chocolate at the Congress and won the limited and open 2-year-old futurity there in the Cogla. And then '98, we had a great mare that they sent us. Her name was Zippo's Hotsy. I went back and won won every that I can think of, every major maturity that year in all the futurities, and then won the junior and the maturity at the Congress on her. And then followed up, other horses came along. Were Sweet Talking Mouse. I'm sorry, the Mouse is talking. Mouse is talking. We didn't have her long, but I think she was one of the most talented horses I ever rode. Great horse. And then it was a horse that was a little bit of an overachiever. His name was Lopin' at Last, and won the maturity on him at the Congress a year or two later. He wasn't the most talented horse that we'd ever sat on, but a very big, gentle giant, very trainable horse, and really gave his heart to it. As went through him, and then other horses that came along were Sweet Talking Jeannie. She came along in after that. Did very well with her. Then Hot Little Mama. Got to win the Masters there at the Congress with her, and had Sweet Talking Jeannie, and then the following year came back with RL Best of Sudden, and that was a big year.
I tell you, our watchers out there, in the last 3 minutes, holy smokes. If you would just pull your horse's papers out right now, I promise you that there is something on your horse's papers that goes back to somebody that he just mentioned. I know from my own. I mean, that in my Sunday Best, right? That goes to the Hot Little Mama, or the mare that you had mentioned. And then I've got one that's out of Sweet Talking Jeannie. And then, of course, who doesn't have an RL Best of Sudden somewhere around, right? So that just right there kind of tells you the level, the caliber of horse trainer that we're talking to tonight. And I know most of you on here know who he is and what he's done, but man, it's sure awesome, because Brett would if it wasn't on this platform, he would never come up to you and ever tell you anything that you just heard. So you heard it here, which may be the first and last time you ever hear it, because this is the most humble man that I know. And so that we're just honored to be able to have you here, Brett, for sure. Tim, go ahead, continue.
Okay, no, it was just overwhelming. Like, okay,
I know.
How does he remember all the names like that? Like, I'm watching him. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. Okay, Cody, I'm gonna let you jump in here. So I just want to take a little break and just, Cody, tell me, one about you and your brother, okay, and then two, how you guys start raising horses, ponies, or how you got your start into this.
Okay, so my brother and I are 2.5 years apart, which is great because we're close enough that we're more like buddies than brothers a lot of the time. So we have a lot in common. But obviously we grew up around the horses. I think even as Dad kind of alluded to earlier, my granddad Kif Perrish, he had bought me a pony before I was even born. So I was kind of born into that, and that he was probably the most famous pony around the horse show for a little while. He was Bear, and everybody kind of knew Bear, but kind of grew up just turned loose on him, and so every horse show pretty much it would seem like we would get questions about would we sell bear. So that kind of got the wheels turning a little bit, and we were like, well, we wouldn't sell bear, but if we could find some more ponies and put a little time on those, we could sure flip and sell some of those. So, and it kind of just went crazy, and I mean, not to skip ahead and jump to the end, but like I think we tallied it up one time. Between my brother and I, we sold like well over 100 ponies, I think.
Wow.
We were kind of done with it, but yeah, just those years were awesome because we grew up together. I mean, being young like that, you know, obviously weren't in school yet and stuff. We were riding every day, and we had our little string of ponies, and we were out there with Dad riding every day, you know, and that was awesome to get to spend that kind of time together every day, especially at a young age, you know, and
Sure.
developing that bond with all four of us, you know. I mean, we were all together all the time, and it was just an awesome time.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Chase a little bit?
Yeah, so and I'll brag on him a little bit. Maybe he's not watching this, so I wouldn't brag on him if he was standing here. But he's a pretty cool cat too. He grew up showing him some, and actually did pretty well. He won the walk trot at the Congress, and then he was like, yeah, you know, I don't know if this is for me. I kind of been there, done that, conquered that. So he moved on to football, and I mean, there was a long time there where you never saw him without a ball in his hands, and it was cool to see that passion build in him. And as he moved up through middle school, and then, you know, right before he was getting into high school and stuff, you could kind of tell like he was serious about it, and he had a lot of talent. And so he moved into high school, and moved to a different school, a big school where, you know, football was big time over there. And then his junior and senior year, he started, and he was 30-0. They never got beat, and they won 2 state championships and a national title. And so it was just kind of went from there. But it was cool that, you know, I know we've said it before, but kind of through all those stages, we've just done it together. You know, I mean, that was just what we did. All that was family time, you know.
Cody, I'm just going to stop for 1 second and just say how much I appreciate you being on our show, because you upgraded our demographics, right?
No, I've seen people on here, and I'm like, oh, they haven't been on yet.
People we don't even know, right?
That's Cody's presence tonight here for sure.
So you really helped our ratings. We appreciate that a lot.
And if you ever want to get back in the pony business, I think I've seen like 6 or 7 people that are like, we had a pony, and somebody was saying, we bought a pony from them, and we need a pony. We need a pair.
That was the best money we ever made anyway. So, I mean, we do need to get back into it.
So can we talk a little bit about that real quick, Tim? Can we talk about the ponies and what they were able to buy? And whether, Brett, you want to tell it, or whether Cody wants to tell it, but talk a little bit about what you boys learned at such a young age, how to put work into something and then be able to reap what you sow there. So just talk a little bit about that, if y'all would.
Cody, you want to start with that? Or you want me to lead into the story, or how you want to do it?
I'll talk a little bit about it, and then you be the history guy. No, I think it taught us from a very early age to, first and foremost, just work. You know, I mean, we kind of knew what we had in mind as a goal and what we kind of wanted to do, and you know, it just taught you those things weren't going to get broke unless you rode them. You know, I mean, we had some wild ones, we had some renegades and stuff, and you had to ride them every day. And it, you know, from a young age, we just figured out if you wanted something bad enough, you're going to have to work hard at it. And that was probably one of the most valuable lessons that I can say that taught me for sure. But I'm sure he's got some good stories he can tell you about.
Well, I'll leave some of the stories out that'd be embarrassing. When Kenny and I first realized there was such a demand out there for ponies, then we would not sell Bear. He was irreplaceable. And so Kenny and I went out and Cody, and we went out and found 3 ponies, and Kenny and I bought them, and he took them, rode them, and sold them, and paid us back our investment. And then he took the profit from those ponies and went and bought more ponies. And over the years, I would guess they probably sold close to 150 ponies. They sold 12 to the 4.6s. They sold a lot of ponies all over the country and did a great job with it. But they did very well financially from it. They bought quite a bit of land with it. They bought Cody's first show horse, which was Kiss My Impulse, a really good mare he had. They bought her with the pony money, and then they ended up buying R.L. Besto Sudden's mother with pony money. So
how about that? Buying R.L. mother with
ponies were good to him.
That you made selling ponies.
Yeah.
But when you had bought her, you didn't have R.L. Besto Sudden yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. The boys bought her in. The Roberts had a sale one summer. Greg Wheat was working there at the time. We went through and looked at all the horses. We didn't think we could actually afford anything there, but the boys had a little nest egg they built up with the ponies, and we knew R.L. Besto Sudden's mother from the time she was a yearling, and she had a slight injury, and just loved her. We thought she was the best mare in the sale, possibly the best mare they had on the place. So she was in the sale. We bid on her and actually ended up buying her, and bought her that summer. And then the following winter went back and did not go to buy him, but ended up realizing how special R.L. Besto Sudden was, picked him out as our next 2-year-old the following year, and went from there. So she started a lot of things here.
That's awesome.
So let me move back to Cody for 1 second, because this is a question I asked yesterday. Can you kind of help me, tell me your turning point of when you really wanted to do the horses and everything?
Yeah, for sure. It probably started for me with the mare that he just kind of mentioned a minute ago, Kiss My Impulse. She was really the first kind of project horse that I had, and really horse that stepped up and was enough horse to kind of, be competitive in the show pen. And probably one of the things that I'm most appreciative of and kind of what sparked most of it was we bought her in the first year. He helped me with her and kind of showed me the ropes and stuff. And then kind of the second year, he turned me loose and said, figure it out. You kind of know what direction you want to go, and just figure out what you need to do and how to prep her and everything like that. And, for that whole year, he didn't ride her, and he kind of made me do the work. And that taught me so much, and it paid off. I mean, I think I was 10 that year, and I think I was 8th on her at the Youth World and 3rd at the Congress. And, that kind of sparked in me the interest of, okay, like, how do I make all this stuff work? I'd ridden a broke horse before, but now it was, he made me kind of get into the nuts and bolts of working on, mechanics and that kind of thing. And that sparked an interest in me to actually become a horse trainer and kind of step it up,
Perfect. Okay, Bradford. Where you at?
Oh, let's do this.
That's you. Guess what, boys? That time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Rapid Fire.
Do you want to talk about Bradford?
I'm sorry, what?
You want to introduce this segment?
I would. So I'm going to get my glasses on here, Tim, because we don't have the questions to put on the board tonight. Oh, yeah. So how we're going to do this, Tim's going to read the question, and you guys have your index cards. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got A, B, C, and D as questions, as answers. So Tim's going to read the question. I'm going to read the answers A, B, C, and D, because sometimes Tim gets so excited in this part, he starts reading really fast. So that since we don't have the questions up tonight, I'm going to read the answers. All right, let's roll, Timmy.
Which holiday do you like spending with your entire family? What holiday do you like spending with your entire family, Brad?
A, birthdays. B, Thanksgiving. C, Christmas. Or D, New Year's Day. Both of them Christmas. All right, I thought maybe New Year's Day with college football or something like that is what I was maybe thinking. Okay, number 2, Tim.
If you had time at the World Show, which one of these classes would you go watch?
A, roping. B, barrel racing. C, team pinning. D, the working cow horse. A, and I didn't see you, Brett. D, the working cow horse and the roping. Number 3, Tim.
What do you leave? When you leave for the barn in the morning, which item is the last thing you get? What is the last item you get?
A, your wallet. B, your cap. C, your phone. Or D, your spurs. B, your cap. B, your cap.
I'm notorious for not carrying my wallet, so that's not enough.
And number 4, Tim.
What type of pleasure horse do you like to show most? What type of pleasure horse do you like to show most?
A, 2-year-old. B, a green, maiden, or novice horse. C, a junior horse. Or D, a non-pros horse. Wow, both a green, maiden, or novice horse. Interesting. Number 5, Tim.
What do you two enjoy doing together? What do you two enjoy doing together?
A, watching sports. B, hunting. C, fishing. D, schooling pleasure horses in the middle of the night.
Ooh, this is going to be.
A and D, watching sports and schooling in the middle.
I'm going to go with him on that.
Like father. How about that?
Question 6. What chore do you least like to do? What chore do you least like to do?
A, help cook dinner. Candy's probably laughing. B, help wash clothes. She's probably laughing louder. C, help wash the dishes. She's probably on the floor rolling. Or D, help unload the horse trailer.
Oh, Brad, you knew.
A and D.
That was a setup.
I'm with you, Brett.
I got 2 questions. What sport do you enjoy watching most? What sport do you enjoy watching the most?
A, college football. B, bull riding. C, NFL football. D, NASCAR. B and A. All right.
Where do you like?
Sorry.
Where do you like? That's right. Where do you like to show younger type pleasure horses? Where do you like to show younger type pleasure horses?
A, the World Show. C, Congress. D, big fraternities. I'm sorry. C is. A, typos here. A, the World Show. Are we talking NSBA World Show or AQHA? Doesn't matter, right, Tim? Okay, both.
Yes.
B is Congress. C is big fraternities. D, all of them. We got all of them, and we got the Congress.
Okay.
Number 8, Tim.
So the last 3 questions here, they're the same A, B, C, and D. So 8. What person is the easiest person to give suggestions to about horses? Which person is the easiest person to give suggestions to about horses?
So who's the most coachable? That's what we're saying.
Yes.
A,
Yes.
Brett. B, Cody. C, Candy. Or D, Chase.
I'm not going to win any of these.
Brett is the most coachable. Look at that. Cody's not going to get any of these.
I'm going to decline on that.
Oh man, he wanted to say himself, but he's so humble he can't do it.
Number 9. Who of the 4 is the best dancer? Who's the best dancer?
A, Brett. B, Cody. C, Candy. Or C, D, Chase. Chase is the best dancer.
Hey, but I've got to throw in Cody's pretty good too.
Well, Cody is B.
Yeah. B. Oh, Cody's B. I'm sorry.
Cody called himself.
Last question. Whose car is the cleanest vehicle? Who has the cleanest vehicle?
Brett, Cody, Brett. Candy, or Chase? Chase? Brett has the cleanest car.
That's because he never goes anywhere. He's never in it.
Good job, you guys. Good job.
I love it. All right, everybody. Please stay put. We are going to thank our sponsors here real quick, and we will be back in a very short time period. So don't move.
Take it, Brett.
All right, we are back. We are back. Yes, Holly Hover, we are having a great show. And if y'all haven't seen Jonathan Mueller's comments about Cody Bieber in the house, that's awesome. I love it.
I don't have enough hair for that, Jonathan.
Just let that top grow out a little bit more, Cody.
We love our ratings, man. Okay, so back to Brett. Brett, can you help me here? Take us through those years from like 2000 to 2020 and kind of tell me how your business went through those years.
Okay. Like we had been very blessed to have a lot of success before that, starting, like I said, with Sweet Talking Chip. And then once we got into the 2000s with Jeannie and then ROBS of Sudden, little story I'll tell about him. JR had started his class, the 100,000, the first year they were going to pay it out in 2004. And we had Sweet Talking Jeannie that the previous year, and sold her, was blessed to do real well with her that year. Went into 2004 and we had a slot for the class, but really didn't have the right horse. Went down to the Roberts facilities in Ocala, and I saw him from a distance on the walker. And Greg was great about it. He would just give me a list of all their horses there were numbered. He would give me a list of the numbers and the prices on them. And when I was walking down, I saw him on the walker, and he just had a presence about him. So I told them to saddle him. He was one of the first 3 or 4 they saddled. He'd been ridden about 5 times, I think. So we looked at him when he led him up to me. I realized that his number matched the number of the mare that we had bought the previous summer, and so it was sort of it was meant to be. We bought that mare and then ended up buying that horse. But we had a great client at the time that since passed away. His name was Sonny Douglas. He owned Sweet Talking Jeannie, and we sold her. He told me to go find a horse that would have a chance to go win that class. He wanted us to do well. Candy and I on the slot, but he said, I want you to go be successful. And so find that horse. And he handed me a blank check one day and said, you go find the horse you want. So we went down. They priced him. They priced him as a gild, and they didn't really sell studs off that farm. We negotiated for a while there, and ended up we paid a lot for the horse. He was expensive, but Candy and I recommended him for him not to buy the horse because of the price. It scared me, to be honest with you. And he just believed in us and believed in our ability, and kept pushing me over several days, and Candy to make that decision to go buy him. He told me the way he sold me on it was, he said, well, Brett, you made me more money than that on Sweet Talking Jeannie. So he said, I look at it as free money. He said, you look at it as he's a free horse. You go buy him and enjoy him and treat him like he's yours. So we did that reluctantly, but he was right. In the end, he was a very smart man, made good decisions. So then that year in 2004, we went to St. Louis and won the Riker, the first 100,000 that they paid out, which was a huge boost for us and my family. And then since, we have grown our broodmare business quite a bit through that horse and because of that horse. We kept him several years, bred him, and then sold him to Ken Masterson at Masterson Farms, and his wife Marilyn. They've done a great job with him, promoting him, and they really made that horse. I'm very proud of what he became. But we reap the benefits a lot of we retain breedings and have built our broodmare band around him. They're great broodmares. Just not long ago, we started out with Talk to Me Vicky, which is Hot Little Mama's mother. She's also in my Sunday Best mother, and that's a mare that Brad and Dave Dillon came and bought as a yearling and did very well with her. And Brad, I don't know if I think I told you this, but since we bought her back, she's had 2 really, really good babies. He has a yearling and
Awesome.
a weanling for us. And but you know, we've now built our broodmare band around his daughters, and it's been good. So we go ahead.
If I can back you up real quick, when he was when you bought him as a 2-year-old or yearling or whatever,
he was a year-old.
It wasn't very long. Didn't you tell me that they were going to gild him? Well,
that was the plan. Like I said, they didn't really. They had sudden impulse, and they didn't really keep many studs, and they wanted to protect the breed, and that was understandable.
Sure.
But in that, they didn't let really studs come off that farm very often. I think there were a few, but not very many. He was definitely the one that came off there, and so it was. Like I said, there's not a lot of negotiations going on with that, and but we were thankful we got him out of there, and Greg Wheat was a big help with that. He's always been a great friend and done been good to us. So, but yeah, that was the industry would have changed a lot had we not been able to buy him.
Interesting how what I say, God works in so many different ways to not just change people's lives, but how it just is what our industry would be like without, what your business right now would be like without your broodmare band and all that, without RL Best of Sudden right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. We really wouldn't have a broodmare band. We'd be dabbling, but we're very proud of what we've, the majority, we have some clients that have sent some great horses, but a lot of our horses are raised here on the farm and bought from clients, clients buy them and leave them here a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So it's been a good thing for our business as a training aspect also.
And he, because you know how he is, he won't admit this to you, but he's got a freaky ability of being able to pick on like that. And I've just given up arguing with him about which ones are going to be great, which ones aren't, because he just never misses on it. So I give up arguing about it.
So maybe Cody helps me in here too. So when this is going on with your family, what's your career doing at this point? Did I lose that?
Are you there, Cody?
You got me? Say that again.
Yeah. So like when this is going through this time zone with your family, what's your career doing?
As far as which time?
So like how old are you there? You have to be 18, like when you're 18, 19? I mean, tell me, like you told me you were, as a youth, you showed and then you went right in the open, right?
Yeah. So most trainers' kids kind of know how it is. You have one and you pretty much got it for that year, and that's your shot to do what you're going to do with it, and then they normally get sold. So kind of, I went through a bunch through my youth career, just kind of as that, and I was fortunate to get to ride some really good horses. And then for me, probably one of the most special, we kind of got to a horse called All of a Sudden. It was by RL. And he was a pretty big gelding, and he had the long mane, and a lot of people kind of remember him for that. But I was fortunate to get him at the end of my youth career, and was fortunate to be able to win the youth world on him, and that kind of hopefully gave me a little bit of a stepping stone to kind of go into the open after I was done with my youth career. But another kind of a cool story about that horse. He was obviously it was the first time I ever won the world show on him at the youth world, and the pleasure. But then flash forward, I think 5 or 6 years later, he was also the first horse that I ever won the world show on in the Western Riding. So that was kind of a cool thing to get to do that on the same horse that many years apart.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I want you to go back a little bit further to your, was it a 13 and under horse or something like that? When I remember your Brett had helped you train the horse, and then at one point he was like, okay, it's all you got to do it yourself, right? So what year, how old were you when that kind of happened, and what was the horse?
That was the year I was 10. That was Kiss My Impulse, and that was I think we bought her when I was like 9, and then he helped me kind of through that year, and then when I was 10 he said, here's the range, kind of figure it out and do the best you can do, and it kind of went from there. And then we fortunate enough to kind of sell her at the end of that year. And then I think it was the next year, I had a 3-year-old that was He was a little bit tough, and I struggled throughout the year, and finally kind of got him captured at the end of the year and I think I won the 11 and under on him at the Congress when he was 3 that year, and I think that might have been the only good ride that I had on him that year. But
you'd be nice to that horse. He had some back problems for a while. But once we figured him out, he was a really good horse. He had some physical issues that caused him some stress. So
yeah, it might have been Cody.
Probably was.
Go ahead, Tim. You may be asking the same question I'm asking. Go ahead.
I'm going to when you guys went head to head. First, you're telling me you were young and you showed against your father a few times in a senior class. And then can you talk about that a little bit and then kind of get me to a point where you guys are competing against each other?
Yeah, I think the mare we were just talking about, the Kiss My Impulse mare, I think I needed to show her one time and just kind of school her, just working on her a little bit. And they had me go in the senior just to school her that day. I don't remember where we were, but I didn't really think much about it. But then I look up kind of halfway through or even maybe at the end of the class and realized that I was in there with Dad. I was showing in there with him, and that was a cool moment for me. And it was something that kind of stands out. And that, I didn't feel like I was competing against him by any means, but just to be in the show pen with him at the same time for the first time, that was pretty awesome.
That's super cool. And again, everything that we've talked about on how Cody was raised and Chase was raised, and for him to think about his dad being in the same pen as his dad, right? And I know I'm sure other guys in there, you're looking around going, wow, I'm competing against all these great ones, right? Yeah. But at what point in your career, you're 10, 11, 12, at what point did a switch flip for you that you said, I want to do this for a living?
Probably a long time before those years you just named. I think probably back when I was like 4 or 5. I don't think I could ever do anything else.
Brad, I'm gonna say he was in diapers.
So then, at one point, did you say, I could maybe do this for a living and be pretty good at it? Let's say that. Then.
Still trying to figure that out now. So.
Well, of course, that's what's been keeping you good.
Yeah. I probably when I was 15, 16, kind of that time frame when I started, riding more at a time and start Dad's, letting me ride some of the younger horses and kind of having some of those and, just tinkering with it and figuring out kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And if I felt like I was going to be good enough, and just the challenge of it was kind of what drew me into it, so. And also, not to mention, I get to work with him every day, and Mom and Chase. That it's cool to get to do that and do it as a family. So that was one of the biggest draws as well.
So one thing. Well, you know what, Tim? I'm not going to bring that up yet. Tim, go ahead and continue, please.
Well, I will. I'll try this one. So 2 things. 1, I need to know about the pink shirt, and then 2, I was going to ask you about wearing the same colored shirts.
Okay. I guess I'll answer the pink shirt. The first year that I won the Congress, both classes, I had a pink Wrangler shirt that Candy picked out for me. I didn't know how confident I was about pink, but I went ahead with it. She told me to, so I have learned to do what she says. So we won the Congress on it that year. The following year came back in a couple of classes. I wore that same pink shirt for the first 5 or 6 times I won the Congress, and I'm not sure that I ever really actually wore it other than those times. And I had a really nice 2-year-old one year, a little later in the career, and she I go in the tack room and put my shirt on, and there's a blue shirt hanging there, and I said, Candy, I guess I'm not winning today. And she said, not today. I was 3rd. She was right. And I never wore that shirt again. And I told, we were talking earlier, it was one of those old, thick brush popper Wrangler shirts, and it was like putting on a box of cardboard box by the time we had
exactly what
had starched it that many times. But it was pretty I'm not very superstitious, but that particular shirt did pretty well for us.
So you mentioned somebody here that I have a feeling we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit more about, and I want to hear from both of you about Miss Candy and what she means to Perrish quarter horses.
The heart of it. People ask us how we do different things, and everybody has a different outlook on things, but she's the heart of what we do. And without the teamwork and the instruction that she's given me and now Cody, when people say, well, they ask, well, who helps who and this and that. She's our eyes. She's recently had some back problems and can't ride a whole lot right now. So she's our coach, and she's a perfectionist, and she's pretty hard on us. So, but she's the one that makes it work. We may throw our leg over them, but at the end of the day, without her, our horses aren't very good, to be honest with you. So I can get lost pretty fast. Cody can too. And he and I try to keep each other in the middle, but Mama's the one that comes out there and keeps us straight. So, but yeah, she's the heart of this family.
Cody, add on to that.
Yeah, you can hang around the stalls for about 5 minutes, and you'll figure that out in a hurry. That she definitely makes the show run in more ways than just as far as the horses. I mean, I don't know that we could get our ties and pads and everything matched for sure if it weren't for her. But not even just in the horse business, just life, like our daily life. She does so much that we couldn't even come close to doing what we do if it weren't for her. So she's the biggest blessing to the three of us knuckleheads that I could ever imagine. So
awesome.
So I would love to jump just for a question here. I was asking you guys a little bit about the horse thing, and about this time of year when you guys are making a choice of if a horse is going to go on or if it's ready, and who's riding, who's doing all that kind of stuff in the month of May. How do you guys make those choices? Like if it should go on, who makes that choice, and does Candy make it?
We leave a lot of that up to the horse. We try to train our horses at we're pretty methodical about how we do it. And we've found over the years, sometimes I'm a little guilty of waiting too long, but I'd rather wait a little while longer and build the foundation for a horse that's going to be 10, 12 years old, showing in the pleasure and other events. So we leave that up to the horse. A lot of it is mental capacity, how fast they train. A lot of it's physical, how strong they are. And, there's always people sometimes on certain things like this, they'll avoid it. But, sorenesses, those horses growing and going through the training process, they need sometimes a little more time, for those three issues. So we leave that up to them. We train at a certain rate, but we need to back off when we need to. And then also we look at, if we're picking horses, not always every horse look the same with every rider. So if I fit a horse better, that's the one. If that horse is going to have more success with me, then that's one I'll show, or vice versa with Cody. At this point right now with Candy not being able to ride. So a great example to me was On a Good Impulse. Candy and I had her, and she was sent to us by Jan Pittman, and it became pretty evident really early that that mare fit Candy very well, and that mare would not have won anywhere near the things that I've been the one as a passenger at that time. So that's a good example of a mare that people would know, and they loved her, and I think she was a great horse in her time. And but that's an example of fitting the rider to the horse, and that's what Cody and I try to do right now with our young horses. Just we have some now. We're going through that process to figure out, which horse is going to fit which one of us.
Cody, can you tell me? Am I echoing? Is that me? What's the feeling like on these young horses when you kind of have that thing that you would say, this one's going to make it, or this one's probably not going to make it? Can you, when they're at an early age, can you tell me what that feeling is or what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's probably different for every horse. It's just like people when you you're riding that horse and you work with it every day, you just kind of get that little feeling about it. I mean, the cream always rises, and the ones that come out every day and want to do their job and want to do and learn everything that you try to teach them, then those they sort themselves out pretty quick. I mean, those guys just want to get broke. I mean, you feel like you just show them what to do, and the next day they've got it. And then that's a really cool feeling when they pick it up that quickly. And with our breeding today, that happens a good bit, thankfully. So it's just I mean, there's not one thing that I would say you look for that kind of gives that away. Each horse is different for sure, but you just kind of get a feeling about them, and you know which ones are going to be show horses.
Both you guys. So I visualize Candy probably has the words of wisdom, the voice of reason. What does she tell you guys when she sees you guys ride that's constructive to help you guys? I'm curious. She honest?
Oh, she's very honest.
You had to look over the camera there for a second to make sure.
Sometimes that's hard to take, and when you've been working so hard on something, and she has a moment to help you with it, and crushes your hopes. That's hard to take, but it's all constructive, and she's like I said, she's a perfectionist. She knows what we expect in a finished product. She knows what we expect in the show pen, and if we're not getting there, we need to make some changes. Whether we have an issue with the horse or with our training process that we're going through. Sometimes we just need to make some changes, and she sure helps us with taking that right path.
Cody, I'm just going to add another piece to this question here. Besides your mother, besides her giving you help, I know you do a few other events too, and you're always open for new information. Can you tell me about some other people that have helped you besides your mother, and what she helps you with too?
Sure. The last couple of years, I just kind of fell into it, but I've been playing with the Western riding and some trail a little bit, and more so the Western riding. Probably I need to come spend a little time with you, Tim, and get brushed up on my trail. But some people that have pushed me to do that. I mean, obviously my family, I mean, they always do that, and that's a given. But some other people that have kind of pushed me to pursue that and be confident enough to take that step and kind of branch out into those other classes for sure would be first and foremost my grandparents, Dan and Darlene Trine. I mean, obviously that's what they do, and I've always been exposed to that a little bit, and so they pushed me from the get-go and have always been somebody there for me to lean on, when I wasn't sure about things. But that's been the great thing about it. Every time I step in the trail pen, or every time I go try, attempt to do the Western riding or whatever, there's always somebody new that's so awesome and is always looking to lend a hand. I mean, there's almost way too many names to name, but Jesper Gansel, Robin Frid. I mean, there's just Whitney, Miss Whitney. She's just awesome. She encouraged me from the very beginning. Jonathan Himes. I mean, there's so many people that have helped me along the way. But and then actually a little funny story. That's how I knew Brad, Mr. Brad. I knew him kind of growing up, but that was, I would say, my first experience with Mr. Tim back when we had the show for Doe there
in Tunica.
Yeah. So we had the Horseman's Challenge, right, which needs to come back, by the way.
Yeah.
That was my favorite little class there. But
I toy with it every year to try to bring it back, and it just hasn't been able to work out yet.
We got to make it happen. But so you had to show the pleasure, the trail, and the Western riding. And at that time, I had never done the Western riding or the trail, and kind of had a horse that just wasn't quite going to make it in the pleasure, but was a very, very talented horse and was too good of a horse to just send home. So we said, let's do something with him. He got just too cool of a horse. And so long story short, I kind of ended up doing that with him there at the show for Doe, the Horseman's Challenge. And I don't remember who sent me his way, but I think at this time we had done the pleasure already, and maybe I had shown the Western riding as well, and we're getting ready for the trail. And I had about an hour, and I go to Tim, and he's out there in the practice pen, and I'm like, all right, Mr. Tim, teach me all you can teach me about the trail in the next hour. Like, I've got to show it in an hour. I've never done this. Never shown it.
Yeah, the power course. Yeah, I was going, well, just look right here and count. Okay.
Count.
I love to count.
Brad, I think Tim's a great coach. I believe Cody won that challenge, didn't he?
Wow. He did.
Yeah, wow. Tim is a great coach because Cody's not that good a student. So
he had to submit. He had to give it up. So it's all good. It's all good. Here I'm just going to do a little one back here. I asked you guys before we started the show about non-pros because I think that's important here too. And I was just curious, like how you make decisions that non-pros ride younger horses and how you guys go about that with your clientele. Like how do you decide who rides what, if they should ride in a 2-year-old event, a 3-year-old event? Do you wait for the right horse for the right non-pro?
That's a great question. We, as a family, we felt like for the good of the horse, we're unless you have an exceptional horse with an exceptional rider, we've always felt like it was better to wait and do the 3-year-old non-pro. And then you have to fit the rider to the horse and have a horse that has a lot of natural ability, that is confident what it's doing. So many times, especially as twos, we're asking a lot of those horses to understand a lot of things. And when someone doesn't spend every day on that horse, it's pretty difficult. So we feel like for the good of the horse, it's better to wait till they're 3s and feel like we get we have a better product out there. And but I think it goes back to matching that person, that horse. But it takes a special horse to be a 2-year-old in general. And then when you're adding in the non-pro class, which that person has to ride that horse as a rule every day, then that's another added challenge to the process.
So, Cody, you ready for this one?
I got you.
Okay. So, if you're going to thank your dad right now for something he's taught you through your career, what would it be?
I'd have to say honesty and integrity. And I know that's not necessarily horse related, but I mean, obviously you can apply it to everything. And I've seen so many times where he's made a very hard decision that wasn't the easy decision to make at that time, but he made it because it was the right thing to do. And I've just seen over the years how many times that comes back around. It ends up working out for the best in the end for everyone. And that's something that you I don't know. I think that's irreplaceable. And it just, you treat people how you would want to be treated, and you do right by the people, and it always comes back to you. And that's probably the single most important thing he's taught me. Not necessarily from a training standpoint, but just from running a business and hopefully one day being half the man he is. But that's probably the most important thing I would say.
You know what's neat, before I let Brad get into, you guys are in different rooms tonight, same house, different rooms, okay? So you get to talk to each other, but you're not like next door to each other, so you can say what you want to say. So now, Brett, I'm going to ask you, what are you proud of both your sons, actually? How they became men and stuff like that. Can you help me with that?
Yes, like I said earlier about raising them in church, and they're both real strong Christians, and I'm proud of, we all go through ups and downs in our life, but I'm very proud of where they are, both of their lives right now. And, just that they put God and family first, and we all work hard, but at the end of the day, we've got to exist with each other. And watching Cody and Chase develop into these types of men, we didn't do everything right. We did one or two things, and but just they're becoming what Kenny and I could not be more proud of who they are as young men, and now that we're a big part of their life, but they're still their own person, and seeing how they've taken control of that, make good decisions, we're proud of that.
So it's I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna let Brad jump in. Our program Friday night, and it's talking like this and talking about family, and having the faith and having a belief that it's going to get better for all of us and stuff like that. It's what a way to start our weekend, right? There's always hope, and we're always looking for hope right now. And I just can't. I appreciate you guys both coming in and being honest and sharing your story with us. And Brad, I'll let you take it before I cry. Go.
Well, we're usually stalled next to parishes and shrines when we at the Congress every year, and it's just I always get to see Brett. I don't know, every day, at least once a day, but there isn't a day goes by that I don't just at some point we just, when we're not super busy, be able to just stop and catch up a little bit. And as I'm listening to Cody talk about him and all that, I think it's just awesome to hear what he's instilling into his son, but then what his son is taking from there, right, and moving on, and what he will pass down later on in his life. But when I hear the story tonight, when I listen, and I really haven't, we all three of us, you, Brett, and Cody, and I have talked together, but not in this kind of form. It's usually, business somewhat when it's the three of us, but when it's just Brett and I, we get a little bit more in depth. But it really just shows me it's awesome tonight to get a little bit more insight into your business. And one word that just comes to my mind is just uber professional. And your can have the integrity, and you can make, Cody, when you say your dad makes those tough decisions, it's because he has faith of that somebody's got a higher power than he can do, right? There's something better. This is the best horse, but it's not going to work out. Then he has faith that something's going to work out, right? And so it's just awesome to see those traits passed down within our own industry here that we're all so dedicated to and we love so much. It's just awesome to see a family like this that's successful, that's talented, that's viable in the industry with the decades of success. This is one thing we see a lot in the shows that we do, is these people that have had, even when they're not winning, they're still viable in the industry, which, we're going to hear a lot more. We talked to Cleve earlier, and he had said that, Steve Heckerman as well, getting ready for Monday's show. And they're just talking about that. You need to be a horse trainer first and a horseman first, because you will be able, if that's what you love to do, then you'll make a way for yourself somehow or other. But it's just awesome to have you guys. I mean, I don't know any other adjectives really to add to that.
I have one more.
And again, all the people that are commenting on here, they're all so proud of both of you, of the men that you are, Cody, the man you're becoming, and when eventually you'll take the reins over and all that. I mean, I'm sure it'll be seamless in a sense. But Tim, go ahead.
So, Brett, one more. Can you just help me with the balance of the business, your family, and just everything? We were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think a big part of, in our industry, it's easy to get caught up in the horses and the competition, and we're all very competitive, and we all want to win. Cody and I sometimes show against each other, and I want to whip him if possible, but at the same time, if I'm going to be second, I'd love to be second behind him. But all that put in perspective, whether you're talking about the showing, the competitive part of it, training horses, financial part of it, winning trophies, whatever it is still staying grounded enough to put God and family first. And we're all blessed to be able to be a part of this industry, which we all love, but not letting it run our lives. And it's obviously, if you do it for a living, it's 7 days a week, but you have to still understand when to put that aside just a little bit and do what's important. So not getting caught up in the glitz and glamour and the finances of it, and just keep it in perspective. Make sure you look after the most important things first. And the rest will take care of itself. Hard work, you're gonna have to work really hard. I mean, there are a lot of, I guess, other than digging ditches, there's a lot of hard jobs out there, but I can't think of one that consumes your life quite as much as a workload. But at the same time, you have to put it in perspective and make sure it does not consume you and run your life.
Cody, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think he's pretty spot on with that, and that's been a huge blessing to me because I'm still one of the young guys. I've kind of I'm pushing to kind of feel like I can make my way into the world a little bit and be competitive and accomplish all the things I want to do and have respect of my peers and things like that. But at the end of the day, he's always so good and well, I say he honestly, Mama's just as good at this as he is, but they keep me grounded, and Chase the same way, but they keep me grounded as far as don't let the horses change the person that you are, and that's very easy to do if you get caught up in this and you get caught up in the showing and winning and doing all that, and you can sometimes see a change in yourself, and they remind me at the end of the day it's just a job, and don't compromise the person that you are for what you want to accomplish. That if you do the right thing and work hard, and it'll always come back to you.
So just make sure when you come to Texas to text me, okay?
Hey, I'll be there next week. So
for sure.
I want to thank you guys so much.
Keep the support, Trail.
We as a family want to thank y'all for what you're doing, especially in this time with the virus going around, and people need this. They need this outlet, and y'all have done an outstanding job. We also want to thank real quick, thank the nurses and doctors and people that are putting their own lives in danger and their families' lives in danger. And Chase's fiance, which they've dated since the 7th grade, she's a nurse, and she's not able to be around us right now. With she's off in Maryland at doing her job. She's a delivery nurse, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day this Sunday. And
right.
And thank y'all for what you do, and God bless you.
Well, thank you
so much.
Thank you, Perrish family. Just in general, you've been life-changing to other families in the business, outside the business. You've just as a family, but then you've been life-changing as horse trainers as well. We thank you so much for your dedication to the industry. More so, we thank you for your dedication to your faith and to your family, because that preludes it, in my opinion. So thank you for that example. We're going to let you guys step off for a second, but don't go away. Tim and I are going to close up the show, and then we'll come right back to you guys before we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this great Friday night.
Wow.
It was awesome. Tim, great notes, great questions. Thanks for all the work that you put into this, man. It was, I don't know, epic. I haven't used that word in a while, so it was epic. It was fantastic. Again, Monday, remember, we've got Steve Heckerman, Cleve Wells, which I just saw Mr. Steve Heckerman on the board watching tonight. Thanks for watching, Steve. And then Wednesday, we've got Jim and Deanna Searles. Friday, we've got Lainey DeBoer and Miss Valerie Kearns doing the equitation. So join us next week for another great week. Y'all have a great weekend. Spoil your mothers.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.